But of course, before anything like that can happen, the controllers of the system, Mom, Pop, have deemed that it should be a challenge. It should be a quest. It should not be something easy. And the reason why we've gotten to that conclusion is because it's not. Some people will say, well, how do you know that that's the how it's supposed to work? Because it's happening. Let's just go with that. Let's stay out of the past and stay out of the future. It's happening to where getting enlightened is challenging. So that means that this system was designed as such, because what we see is that the more challenge you have to obtain something, the more you can actually appreciate it when you get it. The more you even know what it is. It's like a child that's very wealthy, grows up in a wealthy family. If you give them a Bentley, hey, everyone's got one. But that poor child who's had nothing, if you had to work for things all their lives, if you give them the same thing, then it becomes something else. It even becomes a god to them. So this is also two extremes. So going into what I've explained about this taking in the spirit into the body, what I'm explaining literally is exactly what's happening in the religious systems and how it works. Because I was always one of those individuals that didn't want to just get a portion of religion, meaning treating it like a subject in college, where, or a subject in high school like math, where you have just one time to go to church that Sunday and then you're out of there. I wanted to see where God was and if he was alive. So I spent really the earlier part of my life just kind of searching and looking at all the different systems that were there. You can say that as a child. I was just looking at everything. And then of course if someone asked me, do you believe in God? I would say yes. And then at this point I had been indoctrinated so heavy when I was asked about whether Jesus was the Lord of all things and all of that goes with that, I would say yes. But in my heart, that's not what I believed. I didn't even believe in God. So, because it's politically correct when someone asks you, do you believe in God, to say yes. But when you believe in God, or God is your friend, you know everything about God. You know God's favorite color. You have communication with God. You have a lot of stuff that the people that were in these places that said they believed in God just did not have. And that was from personal observation. So this is one of the things that I wasn't going to fail in when I got to a level in my life that I needed to find out whether there was a God, because I needed a miracle. I was facing something in my life where I was personally going to sit in a cage, for better lack of words, for 33 years. And instead of giving up on myself and just accepting that that was going to be my lot, because this was, of course, jail, I decided to ask God if he wanted to, and of course I understood God as a man at that point, if he wanted to know about me. And so here's the exact conversation. I said, God, I don't really believe who you are. It's a kind of oxymoronic conversation. But I have studied enough to know, because I had read spiritual books all my life and studied all these things all my life up until that point, and I was about 24 then. I said, but I do know enough about this to know that if you did exist and you did reveal yourself to me, it would be because I donated 150% to you, meaning I gave you 150% of my time. And so because I had nothing else to do, I went into a room and I went to find God. And I started in a book that is not, what I really had deemed myself at this point was that God could not be discovered in the Bible. And the reason why I came to this conclusion is because the Bible was everywhere, and after seeing enough church, I just basically believe, hey, these people this is not the way to go. If you're really going to seriously approach God, you're going to need to find something beside the Bible. So I started to get all these other books. I started to get the Cetiopigrapha. I started to get the Apocrypha. I started to get all the books that were the ones that they say were lost and never included in the Bible. Because it became common knowledge that all of the books weren't in the Bible anyway, because the Bible was also made to be portable. And so if you actually had all the books that were supposed to be in there, you could not carry the book anyway. And that was going to defeat the agenda of the king. And that's what the Council of Nicaea was about, to determine how to condense all of what they had already discovered about a religion that's been going on way before Christianity. Solar worship. And I'll say it now for the record. Worshiping the Son God is not the same as worshiping the Father God. And if you understand that everyone here in history were Son worshipers, that means that they're worshiping the sons. They're not worshiping the fathers. And that should be very clear. Because what happens is that because our language is so screwed up, which is a major part of what we brought into the dimension, was the code to the English language and many more languages, was that these synonymous terms, son, S-U-N, and son, S-O-N, are what they call anamorphs. They say the same thing, they're even spelled the same. Of course, in Hebrew, there's no vowels, so these are definitely the same words because it'd just be S-N. So when people say in history, like in the National Geographics and things, and they stumble upon these sun god worshippers, or sun worshippers, what generally happens at that point is people assume that these people were worshiping just the sun as a physical body of heat, like just what's in the sky that was mystifying them. But we know energy is what we all exist with. So energy gives you consciousness. So if the sun has that much energy, it's definitely conscious. And so it became very easy, especially because these people had direct contact at times with the higher spirits. It was very easy for them to know exactly what was above them, that the sun was actually a living being and they were under its dominion. And that's why on Sunday, which in Spanish is domingo, they're under the dominion, when they walk into the church, they are under the dominion of the sun god. So what began to happen is that they said there's nothing new under the sun, because suns are repeating cycles of actual birth and decay. It happens. People never like the decay part. They love the birth part. But the two are evident within everything that exists here. It's just some things have a longer lifespan. Meaning that on a two-dimensional reality, such as Earth, they like to call it 3D, but we'll explain the 2D situation going on with Earth here in a while. But in this particular reality, well, I kind of lost my train of thought there. But in this particular reality, we're told certain things and we're trained a certain way. And that way is not correct. It's a way of kind of how they treat every single thing in this dimension. We'll give you a little bit, and then once you show what you can do with that, we'll give you some more. And then oftentimes, when they're giving you more, it's making every single thing that you learned before obsolete. And many people have experienced this with religion itself. When you actually start coming into higher levels of thought, a lot of what religion actually taught you, you find out not to be correct, not the proper way. And so immediately, you have to begin to walk away from that. But that process is how we learn things on this dimension. It's important for us to go fully into something for us to discover everything about it. And then once we know everything about it, only then can we make the proper choice of whether or not we want to get involved with it or not. But first you must know everything about it. And because most of the religions here that exist on the dimension, if not all of them, have virtually not told any of their believers exactly what it is involved in, just from the people that are on the surface, not the people that are deeper into it or deeper in the cabal, as they say. That means that many people are misinformed. And so when you have an environment that you're attempting to raise the entire frequency of the whole environment, the first thing that you would need to do is inform the people of exactly what's taking place in the environment. And so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to begin here by talking about sons. It says in Genesis that the sons of God, this is the plural word, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were exceedingly beautiful. So we'll just stop there. Right at that point is telling you there's more than one son. So, if in the New Testament it says there's only one begotten son, we got a problem. Because someone's lying. And generally, in this case, since we know that there's more than one son of God, especially this God in particular that they're talking about in the Bible, which is not the Most High, this God is referred to as YHVH. Old Testament God.